Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Big Episode 20 of Abram Work Podcast with your boys, Respass, Peach, and Walton. Currently, I'm looking at a shirtless Respass, so let's go over there. Shirtless Respass, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling highly refreshed right now. It's hot as hell in this office, and now it's hot as hell for you to look at.
No, it's not. I'm pretty sure I'm looking at the cover of Free Willy right now.
Wow.
There's a little guy underneath you putting his hand up in the air.
First of all, it's fucked up. Second of all, this is why we're not on YouTube.
I'm sorry, Mike. That's what you know. I love you.
Yeah.
All right.
That was one of my favorite movies.
Free Willy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I loved it.
Well, Peach, you might be able to do a Free Willy review more than you can review wrestling. So how are you feeling today, bud?
Like I got to run out and buy the Free Willy DVD now.
DVD? You can't even get that on Blu-ray?
VHS.
I don't know. Is it offered on Blu-ray?
I'm sure it is. Blu-ray, Blue Whale, you know. Yeah, with the way this conversation's already going, welcome everybody, and I do want to start this episode off because, like I said, we are in episode 20, which I am very happy that we made it to episode 20.
We're about 15 episodes further than I thought we were going to get.
I also agree with that, and with that being said, we also have over 500 downloads of the podcast, so I do want to just say a big thank you to everyone out there that has downloaded it, listened to it, commented on it, quickly even breezed past it on their Facebook page when Mike has shared it or something like that.
Yeah.
Even just taking a glimpse at it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mom.
Yes. It's not just the three of us, which is crazy because that's what I was expecting from the beginning of this.
Yeah, and I think towards the end of these, I don't even think I've been downloading it off the website. I've just listened to the audio file we make from this.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So, anything you guys want to reflect on our previous 20 episodes? I know I didn't say that we were going to do this beforehand, but I figured I'd just throw it out there.
I am excited on how much more knowledgeable Peachy is about wrestling since episode 1. I mean, there's huge improvement, Peach. I'm really excited for how all in you've been on this podcast.
Was that a wrestling reference?
You're going to make Jer mad at us again, Mike.
I'm sorry, Jer. If anybody wants to know why Jer would be upset, it's because we're not going to All In because we don't have tickets. So if you want to give us tickets, Jer, me and Walton will be glad to go with you. Someone's just got to give us tickets.
It's also tickets and an all expenses paid round trip to Chicago.
Yeah, if somebody wants to pay for our gas, too, because Jer can't fly, that too.
Well, that's an all expensive paid round trip to Chicago, Mike. So that's our travel's included.
Well, they need to pay for gas. They can't just buy us plane tickets because Jer can't fly. I'm helping out our listeners that might want to help us out. We need gas money, not plane tickets.
Sunoco gift cards, please. That way we can get hot dogs on the way out. But with that being said, episode 20, let's jump into the topic of the week. And I will hand it over to Mr. Respass, who threw this topic idea out there at 2 a.m. last Monday morning after finishing watching Extreme Rules. So, Mike, what was your thought process with this?
Well,
go through. Anybody
who follows me on Twitter knows my exact thought process with this, and I'm pretty sure I even announced it was going to be the episode before either one of you okayed it.
Wait, I have veto power?
No, not really.
No.
Neither one of you do. Once I go on with an idea, usually that's what we do. All right, so for those who did not watch, and for those of you that did watch, Extreme Rules had one of those perfect, absolutely wonderful crowds that Bubba Ray loves so much. They attempted to take over the show in Pittsburgh, and by that I mean they counted down during the 30-minute Iron Man match between Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins.
which headlined the night.
Yes,
just want
it
to call
was
that
the
out.
main
It headlined
event.
the night.
It's something that people have been asking for. No Roman Reigns, none of the same people. These are two guys that all the casual, smart, any fans that you want to say love both of these guys. And instead of just enjoying the match, and I realized the beginning of it was not that great, they counted down from 10 to 0 like it was the Royal Rumble. And not only did they do it at the end of every minute, they did it from 30 seconds a couple times. They just did it too much. They did it too much, and it just was bad.
The big thing you're leaving out about what they counted down to is when they got to 0, the entire crowd went, eh.
Yeah, like the Royal
really,
Rumble.
like yeah. But
so
that was
yeah,
that was the highlight of it.
And we've actually discussed this on an episode before, I believe, where we talked about fans taking over the show, and we just kind of want to, not just bring up Extreme Rules, but if it should, if we feel like it should be allowed, when is it appropriate that kind of go on the whole crowd taking over a show, quote unquote.
I was thinking about, when you brought this up, I started really thinking about it, and we've been there for some actually big ones. So we were at the 2015 Rumble where Reigns got booed out of the building. We were there, Cowboy Stadium, WrestleMania 32. Again,
Beach Ball Mania.
The Monday Night Raw, Beach Ball Mania. They also during that one, we got kind of yelled at, I remember, because we kind of destroyed a New Day League of Nations match when it was Wade Barrett's last night or something like that. But those were the quote unquote bad ones. We've been there for some good ones too. We were there for Nakamura Zayn, which I think the audience made it better. So before we go down that rabbit hole, let's talk about Extreme Rules last week with what kind of brought up this topic. I actually, right before we started recording, I rewatched the whole match. Respass, when did you start watching it, or notice that it was becoming annoying?
I want to say it was about 20 minutes. I know we watched it without volume on while we recorded last week, and I want to say it was about 20 minutes left when I had to leave for work. So I watched from that point on, and it was super noticeable from that point. So I can only assume it started before then. I know I probably should go back and listen to it, but honestly, I want to keep my opinion somewhat close to what it was when I seen it, so I didn't want to change it.
So do you want to give your opinion first, or do you want me to describe how it transpired into going into the countdown and the audience being assholes?
Well, actually, I should have done this before. I'm going to read the post on Twitter for those that don't follow me real quick, just to get my reaction. Then you could describe it to me. But I'll give
What's your Twitter handle real fast?
My Twitter handle is @ApronWorkMikeR, for those that want to follow me. But
give him a follow.
There was 3 posts, and 1 retweet. But I said I cannot form a full opinion on a pay-per-view with only paying attention to bits and pieces while recording a podcast and going to work. But WWE should not allow Pittsburgh to have another pay-per-view after that display in the Rollins-Ziggler match at Extreme Rules. I said, so they can't put a timer up without you doing the Royal Rumble countdown and buzzer sound? We did that in Philly at the Royal Rumble before the show started while nothing was happening. Not in the middle of a main event that had the potential to be an amazing match. Embarrassing. Then I retweeted Seth Rollins' tweet, which I don't know if you've seen that, where he just,
was that
after
just
the match,
10, 9, 8, 7, 6?
He counted down
that was pretty good.
From 10 on Twitter. And then this was probably after I calmed down a bit. I put, I don't feel like I overreacted with my feelings in Extreme Rules crowd, but I could have tried to look at it from their perspective. So in order to take a step back and truly evaluate things, we decided the fans taking over a show would be our next topic for next week's episode. So that's kind of when I announced it before you guys even agreed to it. So now you could describe the rest of the match to me. That was my feelings at the time.
So I rewatched it again just because I was like, man, So I want to just go on the record. I loved it. I love it when fans do that because yes, I think Rollins and Ziggler are phenomenal wrestlers, phenomenal athletes. At this point where this match fell on the card in this night, the audience had every right to do this. So match started right when the match started. Even before the match started, Pittsburgh gave a huge burn it down for Rollins during his entrance. So crowd seemed like they were not completely restless, but they were ready to get pretty rowdy. So match starts, 30-minute timer on the clock. No countdown yet. Right around the 25-minute mark, I believe, is when Rollins got the first pinfall, like a dumbass roll-up. And then I was watching it again, and I was just like, and I remember watching it live, and I forget if we even said this on the last episode or whatever, but I was like, man, this is going to be one of those Iron Man matches.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like 6 pins in the first 10 minutes.
Well, I'll get to that. So right after that, I think then Rollins got a second pinfall relatively quickly off a curb stomp, which in reality should have been the first pinfall. That's about when the countdown started. So the fans knew this was going to be a shitty match, because then that's when Drew McIntyre came in, got disqualified, got Ziggler disqualified, and then got thrown out. And then Ziggler picked up 3 pinfalls relatively quickly. With 17 minutes left in the match, it was 3-3. You had 5 pinfalls and 1 DQ. That's dumb. Like, that is not, as a crowd, like, I was bored. I was bored sitting here watching it, just because I'm like, this is not an entertaining Iron Man match. For the smart internet fans or whatever like that, commentary was disgusting, because Michael Cole was like, oh, Dolph Ziggler's never been in a match longer than 30 minutes. He was just in one with Seth Rollins, like 2 Mondays ago, that was 32 minutes. Longer than this Iron Man match, which was better than this Iron Man match. So these guys being in an Iron Man match for 30 minutes is dumb. If it was an hour Iron Man match, different story. But 30-minute Iron Man match, the concept itself was just dumb. And then the fact that with 17 minutes left, you had 6 pinfalls, 5 actual pins, and 1 DQ. Shit on this match all fucking night. I don't care. Like, there was nothing Rollins or Ziggler I think could have done to save it. It's kind of shitty, because they are 2 of the best wrestlers I think WWE has now. So, Mike, to your point, when you said that they were doing it with like 30 seconds left or things like that,
yeah,
in the arena, they took the clock down off the screen.
Right.
At one point.
Yeah.
So the crowd knew that at that point they were getting in the heads of Kevin Dunn, who is the video production manager or something like that. He kind of controls the camera cuts and what goes up on the screen and all that stuff. So they took it down. So now the crowd knows that they're in WWE's head. So this match isn't that exciting. To me, it shouldn't have been the main event. Styles, your WWE champion, should have been your main event. Part of me thinks it's awesome that the IC title main evented, but Styles should have still main evented. So with the clock down off the screen, the fans were just doing it whenever the fuck they wanted. Not paying attention to the clock or anything like that, and then they put the clock back up so that they weren't doing it in the middle of, with like 23 seconds left, they were doing So that's kind of how the match went from a audience standpoint, I would say. The match finished at a 4-4 tie. Kurt Angle came out, restarted the match because it wasn't going to end in a tie, but then McIntyre showed up even though he was kicked out. Ziggler came in for a quick pinfall. Jesus, I can't talk. Quick pinfall, won the match 5-4. So 9 pinfalls in 30 minutes. That's dumb. That would have been a great match for the middle of that card, but that is not good at all.
Well, you said you watched the rebroadcast. Did they edit any of the audio, or
They did edit some audio, because there was a point in the match that I saw this on Monday on Reddit. Someone copped out, like, Ziggler has Rollins in a headlock, and you hear Ziggler just say, clear as day, it was better when they had the time on the screen. Like, talking about the fans. But then in this one, you can just see his mouth moving, but you can't hear anything he's saying. So they did edit that. So I'm sure they edited some of the crowd reaction, but it was still audible, clear as day. So, Respass, that is what happened in that match. So,
Okay.
you were vividly against this, but you said you've changed your mind now?
No, I it's funny, when we originally talked about this, and I forget what episode it was, do you remember I started kind of going on a rant about the Bubba Ray tweet? And I forget what episode it was, and you said, save it for another episode. Don't get to it. It might have been the Greg episode, the video game.
Was it? I thought it was the...
No, I was here.
You were here for that episode?
I thought it might have been Nakamura Zayn, the first one we did, just because the crowd played into that a lot.
No. No, I'm talking about the he posted this on June 17th. Is when this got posted, I believe. So I referred to a tweet in an episode from Bubba Ray, and I'll remind those listening what it was. And Bubba Ray posted a tweet, and actually it was for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. He says, back in the day, if unruly smarks tried to ruin or take over the show, Devon and I would just jump the rails and beat the shit out of everybody. Problem solved. And then Lance Storm replied, said, funny thing is, people think you're kidding. And Paul Heyman replied, I still have the local, municipal, county, state, federal, and military police reports and copies of the legal bills that can demonstrate the fact that no, Bully Ray was not kidding in his tweet. And I was pretty upset at the time because I've always been a proponent, you paid the money, you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want. Just because you're giving us a shitty product does not mean we have to sit there and clap for you. I've always been of that mindset. I think my feelings had changed since I've read that. Not just from Extreme Rules, but in general. I think Extreme Rules kind of pushed me towards that side a little bit. And I'm going to say, I realize what you're saying about the match. Well, I do. It was a shitty way to start the match. First of all, you bought Extreme Rules tickets knowing what product WWE's been giving you pay-per-view at the pay-per-view. You knew what you were getting. Don't come in there and say you gave me a shitty pay-per-view after the last 11 pay-per-views were shitty and say we deserved more. Guess what? You bought tickets to a show when show after show's been shitty. Second of all, it was not the whole crowd. But you know who latches on to stuff like that? Kids who are there to have fun because they think that part's fun. Now, you're ruining it for half the crowd. Because some people might have actually enjoyed that match. And now you got everybody going in your ear every minute when you're trying to watch it. I'm assuming most of the people that were doing it was drunk. So now you got drunk, obnoxious people when there are at least half the crowd that want to see it.
But, like, how else are you supposed to show your displeasure?
Don't buy the tickets.
Don't go to WWE?
Yeah, you can't do that. Like, but you're getting it midway through. Like so.
What did you expect, Walt? Did you expect them when you bought tickets to Extreme Rules with no card? When you bought tickets as a fan to Extreme Rules with no card, you expected them to suddenly get way better. You expected the product to get way better. The product has not been good for a while. You expect it to suddenly become this amazing product. And they purposely did not give you Reigns and Lashley at the end because they knew it was going to get shit on. So they attempted at something.
Yeah, and then they did poor writing.
But not every Iron Man match. But not every Iron Man match can go to the end with one pinfall. I do not agree with how they did it. I do not agree. But guess what? When they did it, when the fans did it, that match was good from that point on. Give up. When you see the match is good, stop. Don't do it for 18 minutes straight. Stop after a while. That was the problem I had with it. I'm fine with doing it a couple times, and then the match gets better, and then you're watching it.
But the match wasn't even that good, though.
But it got better. The match got better. From the point that I watched on after Drew McIntyre was ejected, it got better.
It did.
But you're also in that mob mentality. You're already past that point of no return.
But it's not even the mob mentality. It's like that. Like, so So you bought tickets to Extreme Rules. You didn't know the card. You're excited that WWE pay-per-views coming to town. All right. Then you're there. You're expecting, going into that match, you have Reigns Lashley as your main event. Halfway through the card, you have Reigns Lashley come out, and they're in the middle of the card. Awesome. This means I'm getting a WWE Championship match as my main event. Then you have Styles Rusev before this IC title match. Styles Rusev put on a fucking great match. It might have been Rusev's best match on the main roster in WWE. That match was perfect. Rusev looked strong after it. You're setting up a good feud between Rusev and Aiden English for SummerSlam. Styles holds on to the belt. That should have finished your... that should have closed out your card. You're already close to probably 4 hours in your seats at that pay-per-view because they probably had to get there at 6 o'clock or something like that. So this crowd is exhausted. You open the match up with that shit writing, that shit booking for whatever it is, to where in... was it 13 minutes you have 6 pinfalls or 6 decisions, whatever the hell it was. Yeah, I'm going to shit on that the rest of the night. I don't have to be drunk. I could be sober as hell, and I would have been chanting every 60 seconds. I would have been right there at the end, regardless if it got better, because it didn't, like, blow it out of the water better. Their match on Monday Night Raw was still 10 times better than that entire match, and more importantly, that last 16 or 15 minutes, whatever the hell it is. And here's the other thing I'll say to the fans. You know, Ziggler, during the match, he said something about the fans, like, oh, they're so terrible. These are the same fans that Ziggler was ready to induct into the WWE Hall of Fame the night after WrestleMania 29 when he won the World Heavyweight Championship. So if he's bitching about them now, he should bitch about them then, because they ruined the same storyline at that 29. Because at the time, Ziggler was a heel. Del Rio was your face, and so the fans should not have been cheering for Ziggler when his music played to come out and cash in. The fans ruined it there too, but Ziggler's not as pissed off about it this time because they're on his side. I think the fans should be able to do whatever they want during these shows, and especially if the product is shit, you can shit on it however the fuck you want. To your point about, like, you know, the one person there that's sitting there, like, that's trying to enjoy the match, and all they hear in the side of their head is like, because of what, you know, some fans are doing. If it's like 2 or 3 fans, all right, that's where they got a right to be pissed off and they can say something to it. But if it's the whole arena going along with it and they're having fun, go for it.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm going to compare this to something. You're going to tell me it's not the same thing, but it absolutely is. It absolutely is. And like I said, I put a lot of thought into this. And I'm going to start saying this, and I feel like you're already going to tell me it's not the same, but it is. You go to a movie.
It's not the same.
It is. You go to a movie, you expect something out of it. You don't get what you want, and you completely ruin the movie for everybody else that paid for it. And I don't care if it's half the crowd, one person, or 90% of the crowd, you're still ruining it for other people. I don't care how people thought about it at home. I care about the other people who paid money that actually liked that match. Because there were people, I guarantee you, at that stadium were just happy to be there, that were enjoying themselves. And then that, to me, would not be fun. If I'm trying to pay attention, that would not be fun.
I have a counter to your point, and this is not just to say it's not the same or anything like that. I recently went to go to the movies to see Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody that's listening that hasn't seen it yet. The mid-credit scene, something happened, as you would expect during any Marvel mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
If you're listening and you haven't seen it yet, you still might want to just fast forward. I'm not going to spoil it, but I know some people get... Well, something happens during that scene that made my entire movie theater, like, gasp. Like, they all made a very audible noise. I was one of them. There was probably a person in that theater that did not make a noise that could have been generally upset about that. But who... Again, to your point, yeah, we wrote it for. I'm making your point. I'm making your point. I know it. I know it.
But no, like, I can argue, like, it's like going to see Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's a movie, and you going there is fan interaction. If you like it or not, it's there. You can't get away from it.
I'm not talking about fan interaction. That's different. Clapping, booing, stuff like that is different. If you're laughing at a movie, that's one thing. If you're that annoying person that keeps out of control laughing at everything, that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the guy who's bored of this movie and goes, "This sucks. When's this movie over already?" And you're about halfway through.
It wasn't one guy, though.
All right, half the movie theater. I don't care. If you were excited for a movie, Walt,
it's the same thing as clapping. It's the exact same. You can't say it's not. It's the exact same thing as clapping.
Not.
Yes, it is.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
You're intentionally.
Because when's if I'm not clapping? When's if I'm not clapping?
You're intentionally ignoring the show.
What about the wave?
You're watching the time. You're intentionally ignoring the show and doing something that's
the time
unrelated.
is part of the show.
You're doing something that's unrelated to the show. You're cheering for the
What
Royal
about-
Rumble clock at a match that has
What
nothing to
about
do with
the
the Royal
wave?
Rumble. You're doing it purposely to sound like the Royal Rumble for a match that's not the Royal Rumble.
It's for a match that you don't care about, that you are not mad at the wrestlers. Now, here's the one thing I think we could probably both agree on here. The fans were not doing that to Ziggler and Rollins. I think that it's more so that's directed at the writing staff, the bookers, all that stuff. Is that something we can kind of agree on?
Yes, and I also I tend to agree with you a little bit about the length. I was going to get into that, and you got into it before I could. I do think the length plays into it a little bit.
So real fast. Let me ask this. So you get a pay-per-view for here. We did this ourselves. WrestleMania. We went to WrestleMania. We bought our tickets to WrestleMania. Do we have any idea what the card was for that show?
No.
Other than rumors, no.
Other than rumors, so nothing was announced. And I actually don't think a lot of the rumors panned out because so many people got injured between the time we got the tickets and the show actually starting. How am I supposed to show my displeasure with that show then if I already bought tickets by not going and wasting the money? The tickets get sold so far in advance that you don't know what the card is going to be for any of these pay-per-views. And you do have fans that want to go and want to see an entertaining show. But once they're there and you're not entertained, how do you show that? How do you express that in a way to...
I get what you're saying, Walt, and if they had booed, they had booed for 30 minutes, I wouldn't feel the same way. If they had booed straight for 30 minutes, I wouldn't feel the same way.
But the problem is then it would have never got brought to anybody's attention. It would have just been boos. The problem,
you know what this is going to stop? It's just going to stop Iron Man matches. That's all. You think they're going to change? You think they're going to change because of this? No, Pittsburgh just won't get another pay-per-view.
They're going to get,
and they won't do another Iron Man match for a while. That's what's going to happen.
Well, you can't do another Iron match anyway.
I know, but they're absolutely not going to. They're not going to. You're not going to get another match where there's a timer on it for a while now because they assume that every crowd just seen that and they're all going to want to be funny too. Because I can tell you one thing, that was done. I guarantee you that was done because you had people there that were also in Philly. When we were doing it, in between the pre-show and the regular show, having fun doing it, I guarantee you that was done because they either heard it from home, which I didn't watch. I didn't rewatch the Royal Rumble pre-show, so I don't know. But that was done because it was already done. And that was another part of it, too. They did it to be funny because they seen it on another show that it was done.
Because the writing was stupid. And that last match was stupid.
I don't mind doing it,
but
just don't ruin the whole match. It ruined it for me watching it at home. I felt like I couldn't watch it. It ruined it for me. I felt like I couldn't watch it. I would have had to watch it on mute. If I ever rewatch that match, I'm going to have to watch it on mute. It ruined it for me.
I think it made the match better. Because the problem is with that match. Like I'm talking about the match. They did a lot of standard Iron Man tactics to where, long drawn out sleeper holds, long drawn out submissions, stuff like that, countouts, things like that. In a 30-minute Iron Man match, when the two wrestlers put on a 32-minute match 2 weeks before this was even an Iron Man match. This should have never been an Iron Man match. If Oh, what the hell was it? No, that never mind. I thought Ciampa Gargano at the last NXT was supposed to be an Iron Man match, but it was a 2 out of 3 falls match that they took away. But like, if Ciampa Gargano was an Iron Man match, they would have never did the countdown and the honking or whatever like that, because it was interesting.
So if that match worked out the same exact way as Ziggler Rollins, the same exact way, with the pinfalls early and everything, you're telling me the crowd would have just loved it, right?
Well, okay, so when I say that, I don't think it would have played out the exact same way.
I'm saying if it played out the same exact way.
Then, yeah, shit on it.
But they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have.
I think they would have.
They wouldn't have. It was NXT. It was Gargano Ciampa. They wouldn't have.
I think you have an even more likely shot of getting shit on.
No, I disagree.
Because guess what? All the fans, all the drunk smart fans that were doing that would have been there at NXT, and there would have been even more of them.
But Mike, you always say any heat's good heat. So like the crowd reaction, that's heat. That's heat against WWE, not against an
I get what you're saying. I don't know. See,
I don't think it's going to affect Pittsburgh at all. I think Vince will take him right back to Pittsburgh because, hey, that shows that the fans care.
And I think he'll play into it next time. I honestly think the next time rolls around, you're going to get a John Cena Roman Reigns main event or something like that purposely. I do believe that. I believe they're going to stick it to them the next time they go there.
I'm fine with a John Cena Roman Reigns event. I think that's great.
Okay, well, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar for the 80th time. But you're going to get something where they're going to stick it to them in the main event because they tried something different.
And guess what? If this shows anything, Pittsburgh's going to stick it right back to them.
Yeah, and probably. See,
this is the thing.
I've been wavering back and forth. I don't want you to think that I'm like solely, but I'm a lifelong wrestling fan. I've always stuck to WWE, regardless of how shitty the product is. I'm one of the people who has that same problem, who keeps thinking, hey, I'm going to buy a ticket, it's going to get better. One day, it's got to get better. So I fall in that. I fall in that category. I booed when it looked obvious Roman Reigns is going to win the Royal Rumble. I booed the whole Roman Reigns Triple H match at WrestleMania. I've done it.
I don't remember you doing that at WrestleMania just because I was severely drunk.
I also think WrestleMania and the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania is a different beast. I think they're a different beast. I think Royal Rumbles are a different beast. I think SummerSlam is a different beast. I think there's certain shows that should be treated a different way because you know you have that crowd coming in. To be honest with you,
is it cities or shows?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's mostly cities, to be honest with you. But WrestleMania, you can have...
That's...
What?
I was going to say, like, that. Then it's like, oh, well, we can't do this match here. Like, you shouldn't, but you can't. You can't cherry pick those certain events. You have to stay consistent across the whole board for your match quality, your booking quality, all that stuff. So that it's like, oh, well, we can't do this here because it's going to get shit on.
That was not my point. My point was, you expect a crowd to shit on most of the stuff they're doing. You just expect it. I just spent thousands of dollars on a WrestleMania package. I feel like I should shit on the whole show if I want to. It's not to say that that money's any different than the $50 you paid for a ticket to Extreme Rules or whatever. But I think WrestleMania, regardless of what you said, WrestleMania you expect to have a higher standard than an Extreme Rules. Right or wrong?
Right. Yeah.
What do you mean higher standard?
Better matches,
match quality,
for the fans.
Everything. Not just match quality, but the setup of the show. You expect it to be done better for WrestleMania, which is supposed to be their big show, the show that they expect.
There's more pageantry, yeah.
That's why they put celebrities on there and everything like that. They expect that to be their highest watched show. That's why the wrestlers get paid more on that show. It is meant to be their end-all, be-all. It's their Super Bowl. You expect the Super Bowl to be better than the first week of the NFL season, right? You don't expect to have the same type.
First off, no. The Super Bowl is the NFL's version of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I just said.
Straight.
That's what I just said. Oh, sorry.
No,
yes. I get what you're saying. Yes. The Super Bowl is the NFL's version of WrestleMania.
but this is the thing. So like, all right, so you'll put those, like the WrestleManias, the SummerSlams, NXT events, the Royal Rumble, things like that. A city like Pittsburgh doesn't necessarily have all the opportunity. Pittsburgh's known for this anyway, so you can't expect that Vince McMahon didn't know this was going to happen. Because know what Pittsburgh did in 2016? Booed Rey Mysterio. Pittsburgh had the Royal Rumble. Yes,
but that was different.
No, like that's the same. That's the same.
It actually was the same thing. It was the same thing.
It's the same quality of. It's the same people that were at the Royal Rumble were probably at Extreme Rules.
I'm going to explain to you why I had a problem with that. The same way I had a problem with this. I'm going to explain this to you. I'm getting that you're actually making my point without knowing you're making my point. Pittsburgh did this twice, right? Is what you're saying.
Sure.
Why did they boo Rey Mysterio?
Because it wasn't Daniel Bryan.
Exactly. Because they built up all this expectation for a guy that was never promoted to be in the Royal Rumble match to be in the Royal Rumble match. They expected. I don't care if they expected AJ at the end. I don't care what they expected at the end of this pay-per-view. When they seen it was going to be Ziggler and Rollins, they expected something. They didn't get it, so they ruined it.
Well,
that's exactly what
ruined
happened.
It for them.
It doesn't matter.
They
didn't get what they expected. They didn't get what they expected.
Mike,
and I
Mike,
get
back here. Here we go. Backlash. I'm good. Backlash. The last one, probably one of the worst pay-per-views of all time. Did you watch the whole thing or did you turn it off?
I couldn't even tell you what was on it.
So, especially now with the network. Not back in the day when we had to pay $60 for a pay-per-view. I was watching that whole thing to the goddamn end, including the replay.
Right.
But now with the network, we pay our monthly, $10. If you're bored with a pay-per-view, do you turn it off?
Yeah.
Because you don't watch Raw because you think the product is shit. You don't watch SmackDown or you can just kind of read up on it and it's not worth the time there. If you're a fan at this event, you can't just turn it off. So you need to, and so turning it off shows WWE that you're not getting those numbers of active watchers of the thing of, we have download numbers. So I can see, I have the stats like right here. So our XFL one has 34 downloads. Awesome. If someone didn't like our podcast, they're not going to download. So some of our other ones have less downloads. Because I'm watching live and that's how I'm interacting. If I'm actually at the show, how do I show that I don't like this? Don't like what I'm being shown? And to the point to where, yeah, maybe they should have stopped afterwards, but if you were already given shit for majority of it, why should you automatically just accept the last 15 minutes of something because it looks like it's getting better?
Right. Didn't we do the wave during WrestleMania?
I don't think I did because I generally don't like the wave.
See,
but it was the Baron Corbin match. It was a dumb match.
Yeah, it was Baron Corbin versus.
It wasn't the main event. It wasn't the main event. And Walt,
if this here's a question.
My thing is, do you agree or disagree that there was likely people, and not just one, that still were entertained by that match from start to finish?
I think there were people that were entertained during every match. There is somebody that thought the Backlash this year was one of the greatest pay-per-views ever. Yes.
So
I'm sure there is.
So you're agreeing that not every single person there hated it.
I will agree with that.
Now, if you're somewhere you don't like what you're watching, I don't care what it is, a football game. A basketball game, a movie, whatever the hell it is. You just said you would turn it off, right? If you were at home, right?
Yes.
So if you're there, you're at a Phillies game, let's say. The Phillies are losing 15-2. They're not trying at all. It's the 7th inning. What are you most likely doing? They stop serving beer. What are you most likely doing?
On your phone?
Yeah, on my phone.
Or you're probably going home, right? You're probably leaving.
It depends. Honestly, depends. How much did I pay for the ticket? Was it a free ticket or did I pay money for it?
You paid money for
it. But you paid
normal price. You paid normal price. You paid a normal price ticket to sit up in the nosebleeds. You paid
so $20. Yeah, then maybe I'll leave.
Yeah.
But here's the only thing with that. You know why I'll leave? Because I can go see a Phillies game the next night if I want to. So, football game. If I don't like the Eagles this week, I have a chance to go see them 7 more times this season at home.
All right, but you go see the Eagles Dallas play. You can only see that one time at home. You're going to leave because you can just go see them play somebody else, right? At a later date, it's going to be back, stay. Right?
Yeah, but I don't know when.
But the fact that
I don't know at what capacity. When am I getting a pay-per-view? So Royal Rumble was in Philadelphia. I know they're coming back to Philadelphia, so I'm looking forward to, okay, what's the next thing that's going to come? Philly got a live event. I'm not going to that. And that's something I would leave because it's a live event. If I'm staying at a pay-per-view, this is a bigger product. I'm going to be more willing to stay to the end, regardless of it, because this is a bigger deal. I probably paid more money for it. And I don't know the next time I am going to get a pay-per-view in my hometown. We don't know when the next time a pay-per-view is coming to Philadelphia.
Next year.
Yeah. Probably not.
Why not?
Wait, and here we even said this, like to talk about like it's ever going back to Pittsburgh. We booed The Rock out of Philadelphia in 2015.
Yeah,
they gave us another Royal Rumble.
But again, we booed.
Booed The Rock.
We did not start like singing show tunes out in the crowd that had nothing to do with the show. When it seemed like Roman Reigns was going to win, we booed louder. At WrestleMania, when
but
Roman
we chanted
Reigns,
"Let's go Rusev," but we chanted "Let's go Rusev." That's not part. That's part of the show.
That's not a part of the match. That's not a part of the match. But it's not what WWE
like
wanted. The Royal Rumble Extreme Rules is a part of WWE.
Yeah, but to that, what is it at that time you had? To tie it back in there, a young Roman Reigns fan, and the entire arena is chanting "Let's go Rusev" against your one guy. So you're ruining it for that one kid when we should all be cheering Roman Reigns because that's a storyline that WWE is pushing through.
No, I've never said that.
We are ruining it. It's the same thing.
I never said that.
It's the same thing to counting down.
See,
yes, you did.
It's just like anything else. No. See, if you go to an Eagles-Cowboys game and you're a Cowboys fan in Philadelphia, you have to cheer for the Eagles because they're the home team, right? You have to cheer for the Eagles.
No.
Yes.
Well, okay, it's a bad example.
If you don't want to get shot,
that's
you might want to cheer for the Eagles.
Let's go find a non-hardcore place. All right.
Phillies Padres. Padres are in town. There we go.
There you go. Oh, even the Mets, they take over the stadium, right? A bunch of New York fans come take over the stadium. You're allowed to cheer for whoever the hell you
just
want.
Did that.
I've always been that whole.
And those fans were cheered for the clock because that was the quality that WWE was pushing through. I'm being dead serious with that.
I know you are, and that's the worst part of this. They cheered for a clock like it was the Royal Rumble. That's my only problem. I don't care about taking over the show. I think any wrestler that's pissed off about it, put on a better match. That's the way I've always been. Put on a better match. I've always been a proponent of that. I've always been a proponent of that. I love crowd interaction when it has to deal with the match. That's my only negative on it. That's the only thing that I hate it so much about it. It was unrelated. You know what I can't stand? And I'm talking about any other show. When they cheer for Michael Cole in the middle of a random match. When they used to chant for JBL. When they chant for the ring announcers. I think that's the dumbest thing in the world. I still think it is. When you're watching a match, and I don't care who it is, and you start chanting for the announcers. It's dumb. Dumb. I think it's stupid.
So you're So here's a legitimate question. What happens if during that match? What did we expect to happen during that match? There was one thing that you had suggested it, and I agreed with it that we expected to happen during that match.
That Ambrose was going to come out.
What was if the crowd started chanting for Ambrose? Is that allowed? Or would that have been bad?
Chanting, we want Ambrose?
Yes. Because he's not a part of the match, right?
But it wouldn't
He wasn't advertised to be there.
If it lasted 18 minutes, I'd have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with the clock thing if they did it a couple times.
Well, they did do it a couple times.
Yeah, like 18.
Yeah, that's a couple.
No, it's not. By definition,
they would have did more than 18 "We Want Ambrose" chants.
Yeah, but it would have lasted. It wouldn't have lasted 18 minutes.
Here's the thing, though. The Ambrose chant, honestly, would have been going strong for the last 5 minutes straight. With that crowd, with the way they were... But
I don't want to get too far off topic here real quick, but sticking to Ambrose...
I think it's tying into your point, though, because, again, Ambrose is not directly related with this match.
But he is directly related to Rollins.
Okay, the clock's directly related to Rollins.
But not the Royal Rumble buzzer. If they counted down that whole time...
Rollins has wrestled at a Royal Rumble.
I will tell you, I had less a problem with it if they said 59, 58, and they counted all the way down to 0, and then they started back at 59 with no buzzer. I would have had less of a problem with it. Less. Yeah. I would have had less of a problem if they just counted down.
So... I'm going to try to move the topic along real fast because we argued about 45 minutes already.
I want to stick to Ambrose real quick. And I will ask you a serious question. I ask both of you this. We'll move it along this way. I don't believe this is the case, but I also think it would be absolutely hilarious if this was the case. Let's say they were planning on putting Ambrose out there. Let's say they were. Do you think out of spite, they wouldn't have sent him out there because they were upset with how the crowd reacted?
No, I think they would have sent him out there because it would have gotten the reaction I think they would have wanted.
But you think even out of spite that they wouldn't have been like, nah, they don't deserve this. They've just shit on this whole match. You would rather, you think they would have more likely done it to make the crowd
because
react.
I think, because...
The writing.
Yeah, because then, honestly, if Dean Ambrose came out, we wouldn't be talking about this. I do not believe if Ambrose came out, we would be talking about this right now.
I still wouldn't have been happy with how they did that for the last 16 minutes.
But, again, I think then Ambrose overtakes a lot of that takes, quote-unquote, a lot of the heat.
Here you go. The fans would have loved it, right? It would have made up for the shit match, right? Ambrose coming out would have made up for the shit match. Now you just wasted everybody's time because you couldn't wait till the end. Am I right?
Now you just...
What do you mean by wasting their time?
And I'll go back to the movie thing. You start shitting on a movie because you expected something to happen. At the very end, it happens. And you're like, oh my god, it was the greatest movie. Now you just spent a half an hour of a movie shitting on it, fucking it up for everybody else, and now you're happy with it. Because you just couldn't wait. You just couldn't wait. You couldn't wait for the whole match to play out. You had to shit on the first beginning of it.
For the WWE, you're going to wait for something that's not going to come.
That's like any story, though. It's like...
Exactly. Do you do this to any story? Where else is this okay other than wrestling? And it's not okay in wrestling.
But the problem is, when J.K. Rowling's writing Harry Potter and I don't like a middle section of the book, I don't have the opportunity to yell at her face.
Yeah, the same way if you're reading the results to a show. That's not the same thing.
But this is the one time where you can voice like your displeasure because you're there and you can say, again, it goes back to they use the term all the time. It's a male soap opera, an adult soap opera, or whatever the hell it is. And it's a live TV show. Like, it's not wrestling, it's a live TV show. And the fans have the opportunity, because there's no signs there that says they can't do it, that if they don't like what they're getting, they can shit on it. And I get what you're saying. You're fine with that. You're just annoyed with the way they reacted to this thing.
I just think there was a better way to go about it. I think no reaction speaks louder. I think leaving speaks louder. And I understand what you're saying about the ticket. I do. I understand it. And to be honest with you, I don't leave anything. The Eagles could be getting shut out 70-0, and I stay till the end of the game. That's how I am. I don't even get up to go to the bathroom or get any food. I sit down, I watch everything from start to finish, and then I leave. That's how I am. I can understand that part of it, but there's a certain way to go about it, and I felt like they went about it the wrong way.
Do you think it would have been better if they started CM Punk chants?
No, because I think that's awful. I've always thought that was awful.
That was more of a joke. That was more a joke. But so let's move along from us yelling at each other about this one match to where other fans taking over. So I looked up some of them, and like that's where I was trying to look a lot into comparison to where my big comparison was it looked like during the match Ziggler had an issue with the fans, similar to what you were saying, Mike. The countdown and the buzzing, he was annoyed with it. To me, these are the same fans that took over the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania 29 and erupted. And in my opinion, probably the greatest Money in the Bank cash-in because of the fans. These are the same fans. Yes, the WrestleMania ones are...
they're different fans. They're different fans.
They're the same.
Now, they're different fans. They're different
It's the same fans.
They don't travel from all across the world to go to Extreme Rules in Pittsburgh.
No, but you have the Pittsburgh fans that were starting those chants and were some of the loudest ones that are traveling to WrestleMania 29 to cheer for Ziggler when he's cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase and winning the World Heavyweight title. It's the same. It's the same style of people.
Did they cheer? Did they cheer, or did they start random chants that had nothing to do with the match?
They cheered when they should have booed because at the time Ziggler was a heel.
I don't care about that. I disagree. I disagree when people say you need to cheer who they tell you to cheer for.
But then that's ruining the storyline for what they're trying to build for because Ziggler was a heel. Ziggler was a heel at the time.
Fans have adjusted storylines in the history of wrestling. True or false?
Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. That I do not have a problem with. Again, if they booed for 18 minutes, I wouldn't have cared. It was the way they went about it. That's my biggest thing. There is a certain way to go about it. Are you fine when you watch a random match on TV in St. Louis and they start chanting for CM Punk? Are you fine with that?
Honestly, I don't watch Raw enough to see that.
All right,
I don't care.
The Royal Rumble is in St. Louis, and people are chanting from the first entrance to the 30th entrance for CM Punk, and there's been no rumors of him coming. Are you fine with that?
I don't care. Yeah, sure.
I bet you I get some type of text from me if that happens. I guarantee you make some type of comment about it. About like, come on now, this is getting a little bit too much.
Now here's the one thing. Like again, it depends on what town you're in though. Because in the middle of St. Louis, you're not going to get CM Punk chants from the start to the finish. If you do, that's going to make that show even better to me because St. Louis isn't known for that. If you're in Des Moines, Iowa, you're not going to get the smarky internet fans that are out there, which I'm including myself in that as well, that are going to be chanting CM Punk through the entire show. If you go to Chicago, you're going to get that. And you know what? And depending on the product, and here's the funny thing with like Chicago, the one of the other items I was going to bring up was it was a Monday Night Raw. I believe it was. I don't know if it was directly after Punk had left or if it was one of the times after it, but it was relatively close to when Punk left the WWE. WWE knew that they were going to be chanting CM Punk the entire time. So they handled it appropriately, changing storylines to your point with it, to where they had Paul Heyman come out to CM Punk's music and address the crowd. That's not what I'm talking about. Later that night, the entire crowd most of the night was doing CM Punk chants the entire night. They stopped when they did 2 title changes that night. I think the women's title and I think the tag titles. I remember the Usos winning the tag team championships at that Chicago. So WWE knows their cities and they know how to adjust their matches to try to, make it so that stuff doesn't happen. I don't think the buzzing for Pittsburgh would have been as bad, one, if they didn't take the clock off the screen. Because at that point, you're getting in someone's head. You're getting in their head, and you know that they're addressing directly what the audience is saying. So, I don't know if it would have actually continued to go the way it did if they didn't take the clock off the screen. Because that's what probably made it even worse for the way you were watching it, Mike.
And
if they didn't take...
You may be right on that. I just feel like, and I realized the match was not the greatest thing in the world. I realized that, but they tried to do something different for that crowd. Tell me they didn't. Tell me they didn't try to do something different. I don't care what the match was like.
What did they try to do different?
By putting the Intercontinental.
They put an Iron Man
match at the end of the night. Do you remember And we could probably go back to last week's episode.
Here's the thing: we could have done something different by putting your WWE Championship at the main event.
I get that.
But you knew
the
Ziggler Rollins feud did not deserve the main event of that pay-per-view.
But it doesn't matter. They were trying to appease the fans. They were giving the fans something they want.
No, they did.
They're giving the fans something different.
Yeah, the fans,
not what they wanted.
The fans wanted AJ Styles as the main event of that pay-per-view.
So the fans, on a normal night, are not happy with Rollins and Ziggler in the main event.
Yes, on a normal night. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. But
so
when they
on a
did card,
they did the buzzer thing because AJ Styles and Rusev wasn't last. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, actually, yes.
I don't believe.
Well,
that's
I just
true.
I think they did the buzzer thing because the match wasn't going.
Yeah, it was not going the way they wanted it, so they started doing something else.
And then you don't have style. If the fans had a choice between Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins, IC title as your main event, or AJ Styles, Rusev for the WWE Championship as your main event, AJ Styles is winning that vote 100% of the time.
Even if I told you there's a possibility, the only way Dean Ambrose would come out at the end of the match is if it ended the night. If I told you that was the only possible way Dean Ambrose was going to make his return that night, would have been if Ziggler and Rollins main evented. Now you're telling me people still would rather Styles and Rusev.
If I know that going in, then I might change my
mind.
But then again,
that's the only possible way. But see, that left it open. That left it open. I guarantee you that got put there because they knew that rumor was out there and they played along with it.
And you would have waited for something that's not going to come.
And it didn't, and that's fine. And you want to boo and do all that shit afterwards because he didn't come out, that's fine. That whole thing with Kurt Angle coming out and extending it just for it to be like 10 seconds after it was dumb. Absolutely awful. I will agree that match was not good. It wasn't good. I'm not even going to act like it was good. But my point is, they gave them something they normally would want. It may not have been exactly what they wanted, but I can tell you one thing. Nobody wanted Reigns and Lashley last. They didn't give them Reigns and Lashley last. And if you remember right, I told you the IC title was going on last. And it's on last week's episode. When we seen that Roman Reigns and Lashley was playing, you said, oh my God, are they going with Styles and Rusev last? And I said, no, it's going to be the IC title.
Yeah, and I think
right
maybe
then and
on
there,
last week's episode 2, I wasn't the biggest fan of that either. Because I even probably said I think that's dumb.
I don't know that you said you think it's dumb. I think you disagreed with me that it was going to be last. But I could have told you right then and there that was going on last. Right then and there. When it wasn't Lashley and Reigns, I could have told you it was going on last. Because they haven't treated, no matter how long Styles holds on to the title, they haven't treated him. It's like CM Punk all over again. Styles is a champion, but he's not the main event.
Why can't you shit on, then you should be able to shit on the match because that's not the one you wanted as your main event.
But that's not why they did it. Did they shit on it from the very beginning? Or only after those 6 pins?
After those 6
If
pins.
they shit on it from the moment that match started...
No. It was 7 minutes. 7 minutes in.
Okay, if they shit on that match from the moment it started, then I understand your point. But they didn't. They were happy with the match when it first started, and then it was so shitty.
Yeah, because guess what? Yeah, because then they gave it a chance to begin with, and then when they saw that it was going to be a shit match, because you had 3 pinfalls in 7 minutes with a Drew McIntyre disqualification being one of them, they saw that match being complete shit, and then shit on it.
Then boo.
They gave it a shot, saw that it was going to be shit, and then kickstarted the...
Then boo.
Kickstarted it going.
At least change what you're doing. Be creative.
They did change what they're doing. It would have been boring if they booed. And then again, if they booed, we wouldn't be talking about this right now.
No, I'm saying if you do it, don't do it for 18 minutes. Change what you're doing at least. Be creative at least. If you're going to annoy everybody watching from home, be creative.
They did be creative.
No, they weren't. They did exactly what we did a couple months ago in Philly.
But they boo every night. Fans boo every night. They did something different.
They did something that happened in January in Philly. Did we not do that as a crowd? In between,
we did do that, but that's not done every night.
So it can't be something different if it's been done recently.
But then nothing is different.
But isn't like
nothing is different. Well, WWE didn't do something different than by putting Style or Rollins Ziggler as your main
as
event.
As a main event in Pittsburgh
event.
at Extreme Rules in an Iron Man match. That's never been happened before.
They never buzzed at the horn and counted down during an Iron Man match. No, to that point, that's exactly what you're saying.
Again, I would have had less problem with it had they done it a couple times. And I know what you're saying, them shutting it off and stuff like that, but I still think there's a certain way to go about it.
I think the wave is the universal on board, and we want something to change.
Yeah.
And then I think Fandangoing is being like an asshole, where you're just, I don't care about this match, I'm going to start the Fandango song.
Especially when Fandango's out there. Those bastards.
Especially when he's not out there.
I was kidding, Peach.
I don't even want to, because it just seems like we're going to just keep getting back into this.
I know. I didn't want to stick on Extreme Rules. But to be honest with you, and I hate the fact that I jumped to the other side, because I've always been a proponent of you paid money. It's supposed to be an interactive show. You do whatever the hell you want. And normally I feel that way. I could not stand that. I just couldn't. I don't know why.
Maybe you're just becoming an old crotchety old man.
Maybe I'm just getting too old. I don't know. But
were you shaking your fist in the air?
I was telling him to get off my lawn. Yeah. Yes. I feel like they at least tried putting something on that they thought the fans would like at the end. I felt like there was effort there.
They did. So
I felt like there was effort there.
I'll give you that. They did. And then the fans saw what that was turning into. They did. So to your point, to where if they started from the beginning, yes, they were not happy with it, but they gave it that 7 minutes. I think it was 7 minutes. I didn't write down the actual times. It was 5 to 7 minutes. Seth Rollins had 2 pins. Drew McIntyre comes in, gets Ziggler disqualified, gets thrown out. Ziggler gets 3 quick pins. That's when they started shitting on it, because that was the type of match they were going to get. I agree. Not every Iron Man match can go 1-0.
Yeah.
But to go in 13 minutes to have 6 decisions.
No,
that's terrible.
What should have happened was about 15 minutes into that match, Rollins picked up a couple victories, McIntyre. All that should have happened within 5 of the last 8 minutes of the match that happened in the beginning. And I agree with you. I agree with you. It was booked horribly.
Yes, and I do think that Ambrose should have came out. If he was healthy, I don't know if he was, because I think, I don't know. I think they should have only done that match last if Ambrose was coming out.
What would have made it so much better, in my mind, even just at the end of the match, that shitty end with Kurt Angle, could you imagine if Ambrose's music played? And they're like, what the hell? And then McIntyre comes out from behind and does exactly what he did. Just, Ambrose doesn't come out. It's just his music playing. And McIntyre comes out and does what he does. That changes the whole complexion of that match. To get off of the whole taking over the show, that changes it a little bit. You're like, oh my god, that was awesome. They basically were like, you know what, you're gonna shit on our match, we're gonna do this. Like, it's almost like a middle finger to the crowd. Like, we're gonna do what we did, and we're gonna play Ambrose's music. See, that's where they need to get a little bit better, because that would have been awesome. Like you said, with the whole Punk thing, with Heyman coming out and stuff like that, that would have been like, all right, we see you, we know what you want. You ain't getting it. We're going to give you the same finish we were going to give you, but we'll give you Ambrose's music so he's all pop and he's all shut the fuck up.
And that would have actually been better for the match overall, because that would have got Ziggler more boos, which is really what he needs, because people still cheer him, and he's so indifferent now because of how long he's been around, how much he's jumped back and forth, how many times he's held the title. It's like that would have been better. Yeah. But to the point, I think the fans did give it a shot. So you're right. It was something different. It wasn't Lashley Reigns, so that's at least good. But, and again, my issue with it is, how do you not have your WWE Championship as your main event? Your most prestigious title in the company, and not your main event. then if Styles was in some other match or something like that, yeah, the IC title makes sense. So here's the one thing: the first there are very few matches I think that should always go on after the WWE Championship match. Very few. Rock Cena at WrestleMania 28. I think that should have been the main event of your show. Taker Michaels at 26. Main event of your show. That's appropriate. I'm trying to think of what other. Reigns Undertaker at 33 should not have been your main event because I don't think that story was warranting of it unless it was Reigns Undertaker's first loss, which it wasn't. At NXT TakeOver, I think it was TakeOver Respect, is when the women main event. It was the Bayley Sasha Iron Man match, 30-minute Iron Man match. That made sense as your main event for a lot of reasons. The story dictated that it should be your main event. Your actual NXT champion was in the Dusty Rhodes tournament and Finn Balor and Samoa Joe when they were teaming up. So you didn't have to worry about an NXT championship match as your main event. So you put on that match. If something similar was set up for Extreme Rules to where you didn't have a WWE championship match, yeah, the IC title, Iron Man match, put that on last. But it made no sense for it. And the fans did give it an opportunity, and they shit on it real fast because of the shit they knew they were getting fed. I think that even though you're saying... I think if they booed all throughout the match, what their opinion was would not have been heard. Because you would not have had a tweet from Rollins just saying boo. You got a tweet from Rollins for this because it was a little bit unique than what they're usually expecting. Yeah, we did the countdown at the Rumble in Philly in January. Nobody's done it since.
Yeah,
so
but when else has there been a clock for them to count down to?
That's true. So they did take the first opportunity that they got a new clock for. And this was, because it hasn't been seen since January, it's a little different. So I give them credit for being a little bit creative with that and not just straight booing and doing the honking noise.
Again, I hate this because I'm so torn on both sides. I know if you listen to this episode, you probably don't think that way. Again, I am one of those people that probably would have joined in for a little bit.
I would have been there. I would have been there all 18 times.
I just felt like it was too much. I felt like it was too much because I felt like there was effort on WWE's part to give them something.
WWE did give an effort, and the fans initially were accepting of that effort, that it was something different. But then it was the same shitty storytelling that WWE always does, and they shit on it. Here's the thing, and this is what's even funnier too, and this probably would have pissed you off even more. Let's say Lashley Reigns main event it.
Right.
And that same exact match happened in the middle of the card. Would the fans have done the countdown in the middle of the card? Do you think?
Probably not.
You don't think so? I think they might have.
I don't believe so.
Okay. So my point that I was trying to make
I think it would have gotten more booed. I think you would have gotten a loud boo. You might have gotten it temporary, but I don't believe so. I think if that was not the main event, it would have been treated differently by the crowd.
Well, so I disagree. I think they would have did the same countdown and honking. If Lashley Reigns was your main event, you would have gone countdown and honking in the middle of that main event with no clock on the wall. You would have. No, you
wouldn't have.
Oh, God, I just turned the volume up real loud.
They would have been cheering for, the Michael Cole the whole time.
They would have did the countdown.
They would have been cheering for Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, probably, honestly. So, Peach, what's your opinion on the situation? I see, since you were able to talk a lot in this and really provide your 2 cents.
I provided my 2 cents.
I actually think that's probably the amount of audio we have from you.
2 cents worth?
Yes. No, so yeah, I mean, I don't want to go into, like, I had some other ones, like at the Chicago ones, I had Ziggler's cash in. I forget a couple other, like, kind of quote unquote fan takeovers. But I don't think it's really crazy worth going into, just because I have a feeling you and I, Mike, are going to end up back at this argument.
Like I said, I feel like I disagreed with Bubba Ray's comments on it. I feel like it's not always to ruin a show. I felt like that was meant to ruin the show. I felt like the countdown was meant to ruin the rest of the show. I realize you could say it ruined itself by the pins. I get that. But I think there was intention. There was intention to ruin it at that point, from the crowd's point. I think there was intention. I don't think in Philly, when we seen it was Reigns Rusev, and we started chanting for Rusev, and we booed The Rock, we didn't go there. I don't think the mindset was, let's ruin this. You don't start counting down from 10 because you're unhappy.
No, I think they were just trying to do something that made it enjoyable for them.
Yep. Beach Ball Mania.
See, and you can disagree with me, Walt, but I think the Monday Night at the Raw especially, it's a different beast. It's a different crowd. A lot of them traveled from different countries, and they're having fun regardless. They could put 3 hours of Michael Cole reading a book in the middle of the ring, and those fans are going to chant the same stuff. They just are. There's nothing that can be done with that. You could give them CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin for a 3-hour Iron Man match, and that crowd is going to chant Beach Ball Mania. It's going to do all that stuff. That crowd is going to do that. Nobody wants to see a 3-hour Iron Man match between Punk and Stone Cold, especially not now. But can give them everything.
Punk can barely last like 30 seconds in a UFC ring. I don't want to even see him in a WWE ring anymore.
Stone Cold would need...
take that back, I do.
Stone Cold would need every other 10 minutes a beer. So, and
no, not even that. Every 15
massage.
minutes, he'd have to have reconstructive surgery on his neck again.
But I feel like the Monday night after Raw special, or after WrestleMania, it's going to be what it is. They know what it is, and there's nothing that can be done. There's nothing can be done to that show. Where at least, like to your point, Walt, would the crowd have reacted differently with AJ Styles and Rusev at the end? I don't know. Would they have reacted the same way with Rollins and Ziggler if that was in the middle of the night? I don't know. We don't know because it's not what they gave us.
I truly believe that if Styles Rusev was your main event, we would not be having this conversation.
Yeah, because they didn't have a clock.
No, but I still think the fans would have shit on the match like they did, but I just don't think we would have. I don't think we'd be having this conversation because I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. But because it was the main event and they shit on it, that's why we're having this conversation.
The fact of the matter is, before Extreme Rules started, I could have told you there was zero chance that match is main eventing when Rusev won the title shot. There was zero chance.
I know why you're mad about this.
Why?
Because I beat you in the Extreme Rules predictions.
I'm mad that I did not leave and pick the B team like I was supposed to. I had it written down, and I went against them.
Well, how did the predictions go?
I'm going to pull them up right now to quickly change the subject and close us out for this week.
This episode was supposed to be about wrestling takeovers, and it basically stuck on Extreme Rules.
Yeah, and it got taken over by me and Mike.
Yeah, it just became Mike Takeover.
Alrighty, Extreme Rules. So,
we should just count it down from 10 and did a buzzer noise for an hour. Peach, that's what you should have done in the background.
Yeah, it would have been the most audio from Peachy we've had in all 20 episodes. So we can quickly go over this. Andrade Cien Almas versus Sin Cara. All three of us picked Amos, and we both got that right.
All three of us, and only both of us got it right.
Both can be 3 or 18, just like a couple can be 18. So
I don't remember what I said. I'm tired. So, in the tables match between Sanity and the New Day, Sanity won. Only one person picked that. Both of you got it wrong. So I picked Sanity. You guys picked the New Day. With Finn Balor versus Constable Corbin. Finn Balor won. All three of us got that right. All three of us got this one wrong. The B Team versus Hardy and Wyatt. The B Team won that match. Which, honestly, good for them. I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bo's first title run on the main roster, so I hope they do something good with it. But we'll see what happens there. In Carmella versus Asuka, with James Ellsworth hanging above a shark cage. I didn't even see this match. I stepped away to go to the bathroom, and it happened real fast, I think. I don't remember it. Carmella won. Both Respass and myself got this right. Peachy, you picked Asuka and got that wrong. In the Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax match, Ronda Rousey got involved, as we probably all expected, because Alexa Bliss won. Setting up for them. I think that is the first match officially announced for SummerSlam. Alexa Bliss versus Ronda Rousey. For the United States Championship, you had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jeff Hardy. This match was fast. Nakamura with the low blow. Kinshasa once the match started to Hardy, and Nakamura wins. Respass, you selected incorrectly for that one. Peachy and I got that one right. I'm going to go over this fast. Let's not get into it. In the Ziggler-Rollins match, Ziggler won with a decision of 5-4. I was the only one that picked Ziggler to win that. With the Bludgeon Brothers versus they fought Team Hell No. That wasn't a great match. Like, it was, the story writing was, I thought, was dumb for it. But Bludgeon Brothers won. All three of us got that one right. In probably the funnest match of the night, Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens in a steel cage match. Respass, we got this wrong. Peachy got this right. Because Braun Strowman threw Kevin Owens off the top of the steel cage through an announce table.
Yeah.
I wanted to put Kevin Owens because I thought something like that was going to happen. I was expecting similar back to the hop in the Wayback Machine. St. Valentine's
years ago?
It actually might have been, honestly. St. Valentine's Day Massacre, when it was McMahon versus Austin, and Big Show debuted, and Paul White threw him through the cage, and Austin broke the cage and touched the floor and won back his title opportunity at WrestleMania 15 in Philadelphia. In probably the surprise upset of the night, Roman Reigns versus Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley won. So we all got that one wrong. And then the last match on here, AJ Styles versus Rusev. Respass, both you and I picked AJ Styles. Peachy, you picked Rusev on Rusev Day, nonetheless. And Rusev lost. With interference from Aiden English. He ripped off a turnbuckle pad. So I'm assuming that's probably setting us up for Aiden English versus Rusev at SummerSlam. So Peachy and Respass, you guys both went 6 for 12.
Did you just say Ziggler Rollins?
Did I?
I don't think so.
Rusev English.
What? No, I'm saying
Rusev.
You didn't go over the Ziggler Rollins match.
Yeah, you did.
Did he?
I did it very quickly.
See, I'm not paying attention to you. I'm sorry.
Well, good, because I didn't want us to start arguing again for another 2 hours.
That explains why I didn't hear that one.
Yeah. So Peachy and Respass, you guys went 6 for 12 on the night. I went 9 for 12.
So where does it put us on the overall count?
That's what I'm trying to add up right now.
I can admit that I made a rookie mistake, and it'll never happen again.
I'm just getting better at this.
No, I made a rookie mistake. I already admitted what I did. I don't think I admitted it last episode.
You would only beat me by 1.
So far I've gotten 26 right. Respass, You have gotten
24. Wasn't that up one? Or was I tied?
Say the numbers. We can do the math.
17 plus 6.
23.
23. You have 23, right?
So we were tied then.
And then Peachy is...
Right on your heels.
At 18, right? So far.
See? Right there.
No, Peach, what I was saying was not just the B team. I think I told Walt last week that for the first time, I actually went back, I read the results for Raw and SmackDown leading into the pay-per-view, and whoever came out on top of their interactions, I went the opposite way. And it ended up biting me in the ass at the end.
Yeah, I like it when it bites you in the ass.
That's creepy.
Wait a minute. Wait, I'm sorry.
All right, I do have a couple things.
Go. Sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say before we end here. I've realized this is going to be posted on Tuesday, but
Yes.
we are recording this on Sunday. I want everybody to know that we are not completely ignoring whatever this announcement is that's happening Monday night. I want people to know. Most likely that'll be our next week's episode.
For those that might not, well, probably
it'll be Tuesday. So either it's spoiled and it's wrong, or
it's the Stephanie Mann. It's the Stephanie Mann announcement.
Yeah.
On Monday Night Raw tomorrow night.
Yes, and the rumor is, and I'll give a shout out to somebody. We don't normally do it that often. Alan Santos, who I met at the We Podcast and We Know Things recording when we did the predictions. He actually sent it to me, which I knew this was rumored, and then he sent me the tweet from the guy that has made belts in the past for WWE. Mentioned that it was women's tag team titles. So either I'm completely wrong in saying this on Tuesday, or this isn't spoiling anybody, because if you didn't see Monday Night Raw, I mean, I guess technically it's spoiling it now. But the rumor is that, and possibly an all-women's pay-per-view. So the reason we're not speaking on it right now is because we're recording Sunday. None of it's official yet. We don't know anything as of right now.
Yeah, I think realistically the announcement is going to be the all-women's pay-per-view. I don't think they're going to announce the tag title yet. I think because the rumor is it's going to be in
October.
Yeah, like October or late September. So I'm thinking they'll save that till a little bit closer so they can run like a full tournament.
And then
because I don't think they. Yeah, and end it there. I don't think there's enough time to run the tournament starting like this week or next week or something relatively close.
Now, do you think if because it's already kind of gotten out there, they might just announce it for the hell of it?
Probably. They might, honestly. Like, that's what I don't think that it was originally going to be, but if there's enough, like, information flowing around that, they'll probably announce it.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it, to be honest. I really hope that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, we'll save most of our takes on it next week. Hopefully, it actually is the announcement.
I'll make the prediction now that there will be a women's IC championship belt.
Peachy claims he's seen that somewhere. I think he dreamt it. We can't find it. If anybody else has seen that there's a rumored women's IC title, please let us know.
You'll hear it on Tuesday.
Because Peachy's the only one that's seen it.
It's coming. I'm telling you.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if that was the thing that got announced, not the tag titles? I'm pretty sure Peachy will be hosting. You're hosting next week.
Well, I'm retiring. I'm retiring. Yes. I'm done.
You're doing a one-man show next week.
Now, real fast. Like, if they announce a mid-card title for the women's division, are we counting that the same as the IC belt? Or does it have to be called the Women's Intercontinental Championship?
Oh, it's got to be called the Women's Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say that, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
It can't be the Women's Continental Championship. Like, that's not that. Nope, it's got to be IC. Actually, it can't even be Intercontinental. It's got to be called IC. That's the only way I'm getting
just the letters.
Quick question for both of you is, I guess before we wrap this up. The rumor about the women's tag team titles is that it'll be defended across all shows. And they said possibly including NXT and the UK NXT when it comes up. Now, again, if this news comes out, we'll talk about this more next week. Do you believe, if that's true, that they're possibly going to do the same thing to the men's?
Nah.
Because I feel like the men's tag teams has been as of late.
Weak for a while.
Right. Even like the Bludgeon Brothers, like they had to bring Team Hell No back purposely just to give them somebody to wrestle. The B team just won the titles, and I love them, but the B team just won the tag team titles against a Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt who teamed up after, you know what I mean? Like the tag teams they have, I know they have good tag teams. I know they can play off good storylines with their tag teams. But do you think it's possible that instead of having two men's and one women's, that they'll just have a men's that's defended across all and a women's that's defended across all?
Let's make this our topic next week. We'll talk the women's announcement and tag teams because it'll kind of be centric. So, yeah, we'll do that. To give my opinion, I think there's too many men's tag teams out there for you to have one belt defended across two brands or even three brands.
I mean, you could get some Undisputed Era
in
your life.
I think they have too many tag teams to be able to do that. Okay. But let's talk about that next week because I think we can elaborate and Mike and I not yell at each other the entire time.
Yeah. I wasn't yelling. I was elaborating on my point.
I think you thought I was
You were
Fico
taking
for
over
a
the
bit.
show.
Yeah.
I think you thought I was Fico during part of this with how angry you were getting
Fico,
at me.
Fico proved me wrong. He found some site that had some type of study. I'm still not sure how they could do that full study, but apparently he proved me wrong, and I will admit that I exaggerate it. I don't consider myself completely wrong, but I do admit that I exaggerated and I was wrong in how I exaggerated. But he didn't let it go. I let it go. It's just a podcast.
Just let it go.
Yes.
I think that's the Frozen song.
You think
with
you
that
just
being
watched
said,
it by yourself earlier?
I mean, maybe. No, I was collecting Pokemon because I got 7 Zapdos, 3 shiny. Where you at, son?
Trade me.
Nah, I ain't trading you. With that being said, do you guys have any final words before we sign off for the week?
Peach, do you have any first words? You're supposed to do the whole thing.
I'm probably gonna just mute that out.
My final word is, if you have all-in tickets and you want to give them to me, Walton and Jer, and you also have gas money for us, we will greatly appreciate it. We will not repay you back, but we will shout you out on the show, possibly.
Yes, and we'll share any of your social media.
Yeah, maybe, depending on who you are.
If it's appropriate.
And Walt, trade me as Zapdos.
Nope. But this isn't a Pokemon podcast, although that's a good idea. With that being said, I got nothing much else. Again, just real fast, thank you everyone for downloading and listening. Again, started off saying we have over 500 downloads. This is our 20th episode. I'm very excited about that. Like, I think that's really fucking cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And
we appreciate all the support. Anybody that's shared, retweeted, mentioned it, made fun of me for the way my English language is and how disturbing it is. It just means people are listening to it, and
exactly.
I generally think that's pretty cool. So thank you, everybody. We really do appreciate it.
And I will tell those who have been listening and future listeners and stuff, we do have some pretty cool things in the works. Nothing to announce yet, but we have a couple really cool things that I'm excited for. I'm sure Walton and Peachy are both excited for it too. Not only are we going strong here with over 500 downloads and 20 episodes, but we have things that...
More to come.
Yeah,
more to come.
way more to come. I'm really excited.
Yep. So, with that being said, I'll sign off like I've signed off the previous 19 episodes, awkwardly as fuck and not knowing where to go. So, thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you have a good week, and we will
10,
catch you next time.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.